3,000 acres of prime farmland that will be permanently converted from ag into an industrial complex of intakes, tunnels, forebays, and shafts. Another 3,000 acres will be converted for use as muck ponds. Those can be up to 25 feet high and hold up to as much as 50 feet of muck. There will also be in that 3,000, additional 3,000 borrow pits, spoil storage, but they're going to need to have several concrete batch plants all around the construction area because there's millions and millions of cubic yard of concrete that they need to create. You can't touch enough. So they'll have concrete, several of them, concrete batch plants that will also have fueling stations that are part of those. So there'll be several fueling stations as well. So that's 6,000 I think we're up to now. And then it also mentioned in the EIS that there would be a permanent subsurface easement for the tunnels of approximately 1,800 acres as well. And alternative 4 is essentially what the governor and the Obama administration announced last July, which is, if you remember, they switched from 15,000 CFS and 5 intakes down to 9,000 CFS and 3 intakes. But the tunnel alignment, as they're looking at it, is 45 miles long, divided into 9 separate reaches. They'll require the installation of multiple tunnels, though. There'll be 18 12-foot diameter pipelines from the intake to adjacent pumping plants, 2 to 4 16-foot diameter pipelines between new pumping plants to the tunnels and forebays, a 29-foot inside diameter tunnel to convey water 3.8 miles from intake 2 to a new intermediate forebay. The twin tunnels will be 40 feet, but the exterior of it is actually 44 feet. So it's much larger than it had to be before because the other change that they made in July, the alternative 4, the other big difference is alternative 1A included an intermediate pumping plant. They have to bring in a lot of extra utility lines. As you know, the Delta does not have this kind of power to do this. So that was the other change they made, is they are going from using an intermediate pumping plant and electrical to force it to a gravity situation. So that's a good news thing for a couple of reasons. One is it's eliminated an intermediate pumping plant, so there's a footprint, less. Plus it does reduce the greenhouse gas emissions that they'll create. But because of that, they had to make the tunnels actually physically bigger in order for the gravity system to work, which means about 30% more muck is being created as a result. They also have about 8 45-foot inch diameter retrieval shafts, and 7 12-foot diameter intermediate ventilation shafts will be located every 3 miles from hood to Byron tract along the tunnel alignment. And so later when you come up and look at these things, I've tried to color them, but they're essentially the dots, and you can kind of see that they're every 3 miles. There's a big shaft here, and you'll be able to see those. But those will keep that in mind because there's activities that will occur around those. So even if you think, oh, I'm not here, I'm here, so I'm good. It might not be so good, so just wait for that. Understand that. As I mentioned, they're also going to need to have a new power line from Hood following the tunnel alignment to existing pumping facilities and tracing. So that will require the installation of about 500 new power poles and 500 temporary power poles.